Sometimes the most dangerous attacks don't come with guns or fists. They come dressed in ribbons, looking like love, smelling like celebration, but hiding destruction in plain sight. Irita was just a young woman, longing for a better life, chasing hope with empty hands but a full heart. In the beautiful and colorful city of Asaba lived a young woman named Irite. She had just completed her NYSC and had begun her job search, but securing employment proved difficult. One fateful morning, frustrated by countless failed applications, Irite decided to take a walk around the market to clear her head. As she strolled through the bustling stalls, something caught her attention. A thought crossed her mind. I could actually sell something people always need. It wasn't food or provisions. What caught her interest was crayfish. To Irite, this idea seemed like the best she could come up with at the time. Thankfully, she had saved some money during her service year and from side jobs she had picked up along the way. While deep in thought, she noticed a woman sitting confidently outside her shop. The woman was large and flamboyant, with long, dramatic eyelashes, bright red lipstick painted boldly on her full lips, and a strange looking wig. In front of her sat a large tray of crayfish, and inside the shop, bags of crayfish were stacked from floor to ceiling. Her name was Madame All Round, a name she had earned because she ran multiple businesses in the market. She was a born hustler, well known and respected by everyone. Madame All Round had a daughter named Omoye. Though Omoye was beautiful, she lacked her mother's drive and hardworking spirit. This often left Madame All Round frustrated. I don't know where you got this attitude from, because it can't be from me, she would often yell at her daughter. After observing the woman and her business for a while, Irite decided to approach her. She wanted to learn more and see if she could become her apprentice. When Irite finally approached Madame All Round, the woman was chewing gum and fanning herself lazily with a hand fan. Good afternoon, ma. Please, I would like to speak with you. Irite began politely. You are seeing me already now. Talk. Madame Allround replied, blowing a bubble with her gum. Irite hesitated for a moment, slightly intimidated, but she gathered her courage and continued. Ma, I see that you sell crayfish in bulk, wholesale. Please, I want to learn the business. I'm willing to pay or work for you for a while to learn. Madame Allround eyed her from head to toe, still chewing her gum. What's your name? She asked. My name is Irite. Irite? What kind of name is that? She muttered, then shrugged. Anyway, I've heard you. Come back tomorrow. We'll talk. I'm busy today. Irite left that day feeling elated. At last, she might escape the exhausting job hunt and the harassment that often came with it. Some employers had asked her for money to secure a role, while others demanded more inappropriate favors. The next morning, by 7 a.m. sharp, Irita was back at the market. There, she met Omoye, who wasn't particularly friendly. When Irite asked about Madame Allround, Omoye told her to sit and wait. They were about the same age, but Omoye was clearly uninterested in forming a friendship. Soon after, Madame Allround arrived, and she and Irite had a long conversation. They agreed that Irite would pay a small fee to be trained in the business, and Madame Allround also promised to introduce her to her suppliers. That marked the beginning of Irite's crayfish journey. She was always early to the shop, often arriving before Omoye. When Omoye eventually showed up, she would usually sit and scroll through her phone, lost in social media or music. Sometimes, boys came looking for her, and off they went on outings. Though Omoye had also completed school and applied for jobs, she hadn't received any offers. Still, she showed no interest in her mother's business or any other work. This only fueled Madame Allround's frustration. But Irite didn't let that distract her. She stayed focused on her new dream, determined to make a success of it no matter what. After 6 months of dedication, hard work, and keen attention to the business, Madame Allround recognized that Irite had truly mastered the crayfish trade. Impressed by her commitment and growth, she decided it was time to let Irite stand on her own. As a sign of support, Madame Allround even helped her secure a spot in the same market there in Asaba. Irite started small, with just half a bag of crayfish, but within a few months, her business began to flourish. Soon, she was buying and selling full bags, and her customer base grew steadily. Words of her honesty and diligence spread fast, and her store became one of the busiest in the market. Even Madame Allround was amazed at how quickly and successfully Irite had grown. She watched her with both pride and surprise. Then one fateful day, a handsome young man named Obaro walked into the market to buy some food items. He stopped by Irite's shop to purchase crayfish. Taken by her warm demeanor and strong business sense, he decided to buy extra, some for himself and some to send to his family and friends. Take your change, sir, Irite said politely as she handed him the balance. Obari smiled and replied, "Don't worry, dear, keep the change." But Irite wasn't comfortable with that. She insisted he take it back. Obaro only smiled again and walked away, leaving the change on the counter. 2 days later, he returned, this time to buy an even larger quantity of crayfish. Irite, surprised by the amount he was purchasing, asked, "Are you buying this for an occasion?" Obaya chuckled and replied, "No, I just love seeing your face." That simple line made Irite blush and smile. Before leaving, he asked her for her number and she gave it to him. Months passed and their connection began to grow. One day, Irite brought a wedding invitation card to Madame Allround. The older woman was overjoyed. Is it not that fine young man who used to come to buy crayfish in large quantities from you? She asked, beaming. Ha! That's wonderful. Oh. Congratulations, my dear. Obaro was indeed a wealthy man from a highly respected and affluent family. Both his parents were well known and influential. The wedding day finally arrived, and it was nothing short of grand. The event looked like something out of a royal fairy tale. Guests came from far and wide, and gifts flowed in abundance. So many trucks were used to carry them. Madame Allround and her daughter Omoye were present. They gave Irite their gifts, and she was deeply appreciative. She placed the items among the other neatly arranged gift packages. After the wedding, Irite and Obaro moved into their matrimonial home. They were also preparing for their honeymoon trip to the United States. Obaro was always supportive of Irite's entrepreneurial dreams. He promised her that when they returned from their honeymoon, he would expand her crayfish business and support any other venture she wished to pursue. A few days before their departure, Irite, filled with excitement, began opening some of the wedding gifts. The first box contained a luxurious 3-layer of non-sticky pan for her kitchen. She smiled with joy. Then she opened another parcel. This one held a stunning pair of matching silver shoes for her and Obaro. Happily and excited, she rushed to her husband. "My love, look at these beauties. I love the color. It's silver and it will match any outfit. Try yours while I wear mine," she said cheerfully. They both slipped on the shoes, but within minutes, something strange began to happen. Their feet started to feel odd. Soon, their legs began to swell uncontrollably. To their horror, they could no longer walk. The newlyweds were in excruciating pain, completely confused about what was happening. Their families rushed over in panic. What is this?" Obaro's mother cried out. "How could this happen? From where?" Irite, through tears, tried to explain what had happened. I opened one of our gifts. There was a pair of matching shoes inside. We wore them, and then, who gave you that gift? Someone asked. But there was no name on the package. A close friend of Obaro's father, deeply troubled by the situation, asked, did you people pray over these gifts before opening them? Or did you just go ahead out of excitement? I just opened it, Irite said weakly. I was excited. They all groaned. No, nah. You're supposed to set those gifts aside for a while, pray over them, and then sanctify them, the man said. You never know people's intention. Not everyone is happy for you. Some gifts carry hidden evil. The situation grew more serious. Despite being rushed to a top hospital, thanks to Obaro's wealthy family, the doctors were baffled. They couldn't medically explain why the couple's legs were so swollen or why they had lost their ability to walk. One of the top specialist doctors, Dr. Ola, a longtime friend of the family, called them into his office. After carefully reviewing all the test results, he looked at them with concern. This isn't a medical case, he said solemnly. All the tests show that nothing is physically wrong. This is beyond what the eyes can see. You need to consider that something deeper may be at play here. Disturbed by the revelation, they returned home to decide their next course of action. Obara's mother was visibly upset. Her frustration quickly turned towards Irite. This is exactly why I told you not to marry her, she snapped. If you had listened and married the girl I recommended, someone with sense, this would never have happened. But Obaro's father cut in sharply. Enough, woman. Don't blame Irite. They are both suffering this together. You can't accuse her of something she has no control over. What we need now is not blame. We need a solution, and we need it fast. With no solution from the hospital and Dr. Ola confirming that the condition was spiritual, some family friends suggested they consult a herbalist, assuring them the problem would be solved. In desperation, the family agreed. The spiritualist was invited to their home. He performed some rituals and began demanding various strange items. Despite providing everything he requested and spending a lot of money, Obaro and Irite's condition remained unchanged. Their swollen legs showed no improvement. The entire family was plunged into deep sorrow and confusion. Irite's mother, who had traveled down to be with them, wept bitterly, wailing, who could do such a wicked thing to my only daughter and her husband? Hey, a few days later, still desperate and running out of options, the family decided to turn to God. They had tried everything else. They were ready to surrender to fate. That evening, they arrived at a church. Unfortunately, the service had just ended, and people were already leaving. As they stood unsure of what to do, a senior pastor approached them, noticing their distressed faces. Good evening, he greeted kindly. Obara's father responded, Good evening, pastor. We came for prayers, but it seems the service is over. Yes, we just finished, the pastor replied, then paused. But we can still pray together. As he glanced at Irite and Obaro, his expression changed. He looked at Irite closely and said, Ah, young lady, a gift was given to you. Something that looked innocent, but it was a trap. That gift is the reason you and your husband are suffering. But the God we serve will fight for you. He asked everyone to join in prayer, holding up a bottle of anointing oil. He prayed powerfully, declaring healing and deliverance. Then he applied the oil to Irite and Obaro's swollen legs. Suddenly, the couple screamed in pain, their voices echoing through the nearly empty church. It felt as though a dark force had broken off from them. The pastor calmly said, The healing has begun. Grateful and overwhelmed, the family thanked the pastor with tears in their eyes. They left the church with new hope, believing that God had intervened. 3 days later, Omoye was at home preparing to go to the market and help her mother open the store. Suddenly, she collapsed to the floor in excruciating pain. Her legs could no longer carry her. She screamed out, Mama! Mama! Mama all round rushed out in panic. Omoye, what is it? What's wrong? Omoye, trembling and drenched in sweat, cried out, Mama, I can't walk. My legs, I can't feel them. In moments, her legs began to swell rapidly. When she saw it, her heart sank. She knew immediately what was happening. The pain was unbearable, 20 times worse than what she had imagined for Irite. Madam Allround, now completely terrified, screamed, What is this? Omoye? This was the same thing Irite and Obaro went through. You too? What is happening? Omoye broke down completely. Between sobs, she whispered, Mommy, I am responsible for Irite's condition. What? Yes, yes, out of jealousy. That girl came from nowhere and suddenly started doing so well in business. And then, just like that, she got engaged to a rich man. Everything in her life looked perfect. I couldn't stand it. Madam Allround's eyes widened. What are you saying, Omoye? What did you do? Omoye continued, I went to see someone who gave me something to put on the twin shoes I planned to gift her for the wedding. He warned me, though he told me it might backfire, especially if Irite's heart was pure. But I didn't care. I was too bitter. Madam Allround stood frozen, tears streaming down her face. She looked at the child she had raised, not recognizing her anymore. Wait, hey God, what? You did this to Irite? The girl who respected us. The girl who only came here to learn. Why, Omoye? Why would you repay her kindness like this? Her voice cracked with grief. She staggered backward and slumped into a chair, weeping. Omoye, consumed with regret, buried her face in her hands and sobbed uncontrollably. Omoye cried out in pain. It was too much to bear. The pain in her legs was far worse than what Irite and Obaro had gone through. It was like fire burning through her body. In tears, she begged to call for Irite and Obaro. Obaro and Irite, who can now walk, though still healing, arrived and saw Omoye's condition. They were shocked. Madam Allround quickly knelt down and begged, tears running down her face. Please, I'm begging you, she cried. I didn't teach my daughter to be like this. I am sorry for all she has done. Please forgive her. Forgive me too. Irite stood still, hot and confused. She had loved Madam Allround like a mother and had tried to treat Omoye like a sister, even though Omoye was never kind to her. With tears in her eyes, Irite held Obaro's hand and said gently, I've learned that sometimes blessings come with battles, but I won't carry hatred in my heart. We forgive Omoye. May God heal her too. Just as she finished speaking, Omoye gave a loud cry and then she went quiet. Madam Allround screamed and held her daughter's body. Omoye, no! My only child, she cried. Omoye had died. She was buried a few days later. Irite and Obaro were finally healed completely. Not long after, they traveled to the United States for their honeymoon. But Irite could never forget what happened. The pain and betrayal changed her. When they returned, she chose not to go back to the market or the crayfish business. She wanted peace. She wanted a new beginning. She started something new, far from the market and far from all the pain. This story teaches us that jealousy is a silent destroyer. When we allow envy to grow in our hearts, it can push us to do things we never imagined, things that hurt others and eventually destroy us too. We allowed jealousy to blind her. Instead of celebrating Irite's success, she became bitter, and that bitterness led her down a dark path. In the end, the evil she planned for someone else came back to her stronger and deadlier. It also reminds us that not every gift comes from a pure heart. Sometimes, what looks like a blessing may be a trap. That's why it's important to pray, to be watchful, to stay close to God. Irite and Obaro chose to forgive even when they had every reason not to. And through forgiveness, they found healing and peace. As for Madame All Round, as a mother, she realized that material success isn't enough. Guiding a child with values matters more. She was forced to confront the consequences of a lack of discipline and heartbroken by her daughter's actions. Obaro's parents, especially the mother, learned to put pride and blame aside in times of crisis. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the story. If you did, please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your bell notification so that once I post a new story, you will be the first to know. Until we meet again, my wonderful and amazing people, stay safe and remain blessed.